Morning, folks. Everything new under the sun. It is all a bluff. Evolution. That's right. This is one of my favorite topics on the channel. I've got a fair size playlist, I think, with creation evolution stuff going on. I get lots of haters on my videos saying you're stupid for believing in this and all this sort of stuff. Meanwhile, the proponents of evolution have no actual evidence, no missing links, no transitional fossils, and dating techniques which are absolutely full of errors and mistakes and assumptions. And so the Christians, I mean, this is a great time to be alive if you're a Christian, if you're a Bible-believing Christian, if you're a young earth creation person and believes in the literal Genesis account. Great time to be alive because science is on your side at every step, and every single day there's more stuff. Just like the soft tissues found from dinosaurs that could not be millions of years old, although they made excuses as to how it could have come. But the simple answer is, if they're soft tissues, maybe it just hasn't been dead for very long, and that's exactly the case. Dinosaurs live with man. There are dinosaurs today in the form of reptiles, lizards. You can go to your local pet store and buy a dinosaur. Those dinosaurs are just smaller, and they are lizards and reptiles. Lizards and reptiles never stop growing. So if you give them 300 years to get big in a much nicer environment, such as the world was prior to the flood of Noah, then yeah, you have massive dinosaurs, and that's exactly what they are. So if you want to own a dinosaur, go to your local pet store, and get yourself a lizard. They live. They never stop growing. Effectively, they don't live forever, but they never stop growing. So if you give them a suitable habitat, where they're not predated, and where they don't get sick, then they will become massive dinosaurs. Let's look at this article. This is from creation.com. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I want you to go and read it. It's pretty brief, actually, and it kind of goes over the top items in the creation evolution debate. And it's not really much of a debate, to be honest, because evolution really has no actual proper evidence. Everything you find, everything science finds, supports creation, supports young Earth. So what does it say here? The media often gives the impression that evolution is scientific because scientists can tell us how it happened. In reality, the supposedly factual, quote-unquote, accounts of where the universe came from and how the Earth's plant and animal life evolved are no more than imaginative stories. So they make up this narrative, and they try and prove it with stories, but it's not actually empirical science. They can't observe it and repeat these things in the lab. They just draw lines on paper and tell people that they happened, and if they tell them enough that it happened, then people believe them. When pressed for details, it says, the more honest scientists will sometimes admit that they really don't know. So the Big Bang is kind of the biggest thing. According to Professor Brian Cox, that's the image of the guy right there, you cannot claim that there wasn't a Big Bang because you can see it. Here, he is not referring to the Big Bang itself, but what he believes to be the afterglow, a background heat that fills the universe, a remnant of the original fireball, and we'll find out later that that actually goes to confirm creation. What he doesn't let on, however, is that this afterglow, known as the cosmic microwave background, is also a major problem for his theory. Explosions result in chaos, but the CMB is extremely smooth and even across the universe. How does a uniform expanse of this happen after a violent, chaotic explosion? Explosions result in chaos, but the CMB is extremely smooth, the very opposite of what we would expect, it says. Usually a problem of this magnitude would cause people to doubt the theory and look for alternative explanation, but not so. Wholly undeterred, it says, some secular cosmologists came up with a solution which they called inflation. Their calculations indicated that the problem would go away if expansion in an early stage was sped up. Actually, it needed to be sped up an awful lot faster even than the speed of light. So they're making up stuff that isn't even possible according to physics. That doesn't make any sense at all, to be honest. One of the early pioneers of the inflation theory was Paul Steinhardt, now Albert Einstein professor in science at Princeton University, having worked On this for over 20 years, he admitted that it really has no scientific basis, relying on convenient and unprovable assumptions. These are the leading evolutionary proponents who are making assumptions about what happened. The origin of life. In the 1950s, Harold Urey and Stanley Miller constructed some apparatus which supposedly reproduced conditions present on early Earth, with a primitive atmosphere and water, using sparks to simulate lightning strikes. They produced amino acids, some of the building blocks. So this is the primordial soup that people talk about, where they added sparks to a bunch of chemicals, and they came up with amino acids and said, this is empirical evidence that evolution occurred, because we can do this in the lab. In reality, it says, this really didn't prove anything, small amounts of less than half of the 20 different amino acid types needed for life were produced. None of the other necessary components were produced. In addition to the amino acids that were produced were unsuitable mixture of left-handed and right-handed forms. They have to be like-handed for life to actually occur here. Hence, to claim, as the BBC does, that Urey-Miller experiment gives credence to the idea that natural processes can produce life from ordinary chemicals is absurd, it said. Very basic explanation of kind of these big items, these big questions in evolution creation debate. Go to this article, check it out. There's further links to all the detail, but I just wanted to give you the quick overview here, and I thought it was a great article for kind of a real quick overview of what we've done in science in the past, what evolutionary quote-unquote scientists believe, and the fact that their whole theory is based on a lot of assumptions that we can't even empirically confirm. The theory of evolution is maintained by BLUFF, it says. It's like the story of the emperor's clothes. Everyone was telling everyone else that the emperor was finely dressed because, and only because, everyone else was saying so. Similarly, everyone is telling everyone else that evolution is well supported by science because, and only because, everyone else is saying so. You can see the circular reasoning there. I say it's true because everybody else says it's true. Our experience is that this is true not only of the general public, but also of many scientists. So it's a shame on scientists that they go along with this and they don't question it. Now some do, but most don't. And they'll argue, well, that's not my field, of expertise, but it's on them really, ultimately, if they are basing their ideas and theories based on faulty science. It's on them if they make a mistake and don't do the due diligence to figure out what they're basing their assumptions and results on. It finishes up here. The problems with evolution are not that difficult to understand, and it is possible for lay people to grasp many of the arguments with little determination and help. They can see for themselves the scientific bankruptcy of the claim that life can arise without the hand of a creator. Every edition of Creation magazine is designed to help you and your family. So you can get the magazine, and we happen to have a current subscription. It's a great magazine, great for to share with friends and family. But this article is just a real quick overview of evolution. It is a bluff. It is a lie. It has been debunked by science itself. It is not empirically provable. It is not empirical science by any stretch. Evolution cannot be observed or repeated in the lab. Variation within a kind can, but that's not evolution. That's not molecules to man evolution. We don't see molecules to man evolution happening. We see variations within a kind, and those variations never result in a different kind of animal. If you have a dog, you start with a dog and you end with a dog. You may have a dog with long hair, a dog with short hair, different traits, etc. But ultimately you end up with a dog. It never turns into a cat or a mouse or something else. And that is really the obvious conclusion that you have to come to when you look, observe, and attempt to repeat these things in the lab, that evolution is not provable and there is no evidence for it. Guys, I'll leave it there. I'll put the links in the description. Please read the whole thing and share it. And check out the links at the very bottom. At the very bottom it has a bunch of links. You can find out more information about all these where it gets into the actual scientific detail. This is just an overview. But yeah, science is debunked, or not science, but evolution is debunked over and over by science itself. So if you're an evolutionist, you cannot claim to believe in science because science doesn't believe in evolution by any stretch. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll leave it there. I'll see you guys in the next video.